Welcome to a data cleaning tutorial using an export from Windows AX 2009. Windows AX 2009 is an ERP system that has been utilized in the manufacturing industry for the past decade. In this series, we will be using Excel as the cleaning tool. We will first save the file as a new Excel version from the 2009 Windows application. So let's get started by first exporting the data from Windows AX 2009. Due to this company being a private company, I will not be able to show you the Windows AX application. However, I will show you the location where you can go to export the data. Once the file is exported from Windows AX, I like to save the file on my desktop so I can convert it to the new version of Excel. We first want to open the file that we saved from Windows AX and save it as a new version in Excel. And we will save this version as V1 on our desktop. And let's go back and open that file again, and we can see that it is still in a table format, but however we can use all the new tools that are provided in a new version of Excel. Before we start identifying dirty data and transforming this data into clean data, we can go ahead and create an original copy in case the file gets corrupted. And we can call that original data. And our current working file, we can call it working data. Now that we have our working data, let's first go to the reference column and remove the category called weighted average inventory closing. This data does not belong in this file and is more used by accounting during month end. So we can remove this data and put it in a separate sheet inside our file. And we can name this sheet weighted average. Coming back to our working data, we can go ahead and delete all the columns that we just moved and reconsolidate our data. There we go. And we need to copy over our headers again to our working data, since we cut and pasted the weighted average over to the other sheet. Now we can go column by column and clean all the dirty data. So what I like to do is to go and sort through and make sure there are no blanks in any of these columns, and then identify why there are blanks. As such, the first column A has no blanks, and we can scroll through and double check that, and there's only 658 rows. Next is the site. There are no blanks. Warehouse. See, there are no blanks here either. We know all the locations are there. Also the physical dates. There are no missing dates. And we can always scroll down, double check. Uh, Also, the financial dates should be the same, and they are all there. There's no blanks in our sort. Next, in our reference, also no missing items in our reference. Next is our number, and there are no blanks in our numbers, which are identification numbers. And next, we have our receipts. In our receipts, if we run a pivot table on this data right now, it would show us zeros. And in order to make sure that whoever's reviewing this can identify what this missing cell is. And so what I like to do is to just sort on receipts, or descending, and make sure we can capture all of the ones that are empty and fill in so we know what it is. So for example, I'll just put NA and make sure that it's copied down to the bottom. As such, on the next column, we have issue, and we know all of this in column, in our receipt column I, that is showing that it's been purchased, and everything in the issue column should be sold. So we'll just put the NA in the issue column as well, just so that there's no confusion when you're looking at these side by side. Once we have our receipt and issue columns completed, I would like to resort this in the reference column. This puts the data in when it was purchased versus when it's being sold. As you guys can tell, in column I and J, it changes. This file includes both purchases and selling quantities all in one line. For the material that is sold to a customer, the quantity and cost amount in the rows are negative when they should be positive to be able to forecast how much material is being sold to customers. Since the purchased and sold quantities are in the same column, the quantity column should be two different columns to be able to forecast the quantities of the products being made to the quantities of the products being sold. This will help the receipt and issue columns as well, since the receipt column is only purchased material and the issue column is only sold material. There are empty data cells in the issue column if the material is produced, and empty data cells in the receipt column if the material is sold to a customer. Lastly, the cost amount for the material that is sold needs to be updated from negative to positive. Because the cost is in one column, we need to make sure we do not change the cost value of the purchased material. First, I will sort on the receipt column to make sure all the purchased cells are together. And then I will sort on the sold or issue column and make sure all the sold cells are together. and just scroll through the data. And we can easily do that right now because the data isn't very big. And that way we don't get purchased and sold cost mixed. I will create another column called cost amount 2, and we're only updating the cost for the sold, so we will keep the purchased receipt cost the same, equals this. And when we get down to sold, we will multiply that by -1 to get a positive sold amount. Save my file. And now the data is ready for analysis. Now that we have finished cleaning the data, we can now create pivot tables and also charts and forecast future sales and purchases. In this example, we'll be using this data to create 2 pivot tables to show the amount that is purchased and also show the amount that is sold. So by selecting all of the data, we can go to Insert Pivot Table, and yes, we would like to create it in a new worksheet. And we can name this worksheet Pivot Table. On the right hand side, we can say that, hey, we would like to use receipt as our rows and cost amount. In this first pivot table, we will show the purchases. And we can use the comma format for the dollars. And we can also show the quantity. In our next pivot table, we can just copy and paste to show the issue, which will represent how much we sold to a customer. Here we can just filter out the NA because there's no data there, and the blank, and then we can format the numbers to a comma and save the file. To make line graphs for purchases and items that we have sold to our customer. From this data table, we are going to copy and paste purchased into a new sheet so we can create the chart. And we can name the tab Purchases. Next, going back to the working data, we can copy and paste the sold portion into a new sheet. name the tab Sales. The column that has the formula, I'm going to freeze those formulas. That way, if I copy and paste them somewhere else, they will not change. And I'm going to do the same thing on our Purchases tab. Now we can create the charts. Now that we have our data in our sheet, we can go ahead and delete the columns that we do not need, such as columns A through D. We do not need these. We want to look at the date and the quantity of when we purchased the material. So we can delete B through E. We already know in column E that all this data is purchased, so we can delete it. We can also delete B, and now we can go ahead and create a quick chart showing how much we purchased by date. I'm going to insert and doing a quick line graph. We can see the quantity purchased by date. And now we can do the same thing with sales. We can delete the first few rows. Delete. We already know that this is all the sold data. And we can create a quick line graph to show how much material was sold by date. And this represents, and doing a graph, we want to show a positive quantity that was sold. We can insert a positive quantity. And do a quick copy and paste of the formulas. Delete. And we can change the data set. To show a more updated chart. Thank you for watching this tutorial on how to clean data exported from Windows AX 2009 in Excel.